last few lifts have been. Putting this one in at a departure time of 7:30, which, man, I don't know what happened, I mean, it used to be that these gyms would be closed at like 11 every night of the week, including the weekend, right? That used to be the norm, and now, fuck, man, not so much. Not so freaking much. Weekends, I mean, I'm talking regular ass, like, not power lift, like, bodybuilder style, legit ass gyms, grungy as all hell, shutting down at 6. I don't know. I'm not so sure why that's going on still. But some gyms have only cut their hours back a bit. So it's been a little while since I've had a P-Fit back day. So that's the plan for tonight. Which, for back, pretty much fucking perfect. You don't really need that much. But, I mean, they've got everything. Honestly, Planet Fitness hasn't done a terrible job with making sure they're stocked enough for back, arms, and shoulders. Chest and legs, bit finicky because they don't have any real good leg equipment. Like, they have a leg extension, like a leg press, but it's, it's like, eh. And then their chest, not my personal favorite selection of chest presses. But, I mean, it's hard to beat a standard-ass pull-down, seated cable row, regular just free cables. Throw some dumbbell or throw some benches around there. Do, like, some single-arm pullovers and stuff. It doesn't take that much. But that'll probably make up pretty much all of today's back day. I've been doing a couple lat-focused days. Like, last week I had, like, kind of a back-focused, or, well, obviously back would be back-focused, but, like a rowing-focused day, a lot of trap work, a lot of, like, middle thickness kind of focused stuff. And then the lift before that was more so, pull-down focused, a lot of lat-only work. So maybe I'll make today kind of a little bit of an in-between kind of combination. But there's something I wanted to get into a little bit, because I think I've got a reasonable grasp on, like, progressing in terms of increasing your overall workload over time, adding movements, adding adding extra cardio, making your lifts a bit more intense gradually, right? Like, easing into it so that you don't burn yourself out. But I really hope that doesn't, well, let me stop jumbling my words. But I hope that doesn't come off too strongly, right? Because obviously it is kind of true. If somebody were to tell me, Sam, if you want to keep working out, you have to do it 6 hours a day, absolutely straight. If you're short one, not going to work. And if for whatever reason I believe that, or if that was the truth, then I'd be fucking screwed. Because I don't think I'd be able to keep up with that instantly, right? That's too abrupt of a change to my training, right? It's just too much. So scale that back to somebody who's never worked out before, to go from, okay, you got to work out hour and a half a day, add cardio, and start counting your mat. Like, that's basically, I'd say, a comparable jump of sort of routine intensity. You got to get used to it. So that's where, I'm always saying, like, if you can tell you're kind of burning yourself out, or if you're like, okay, I need to take, like, this next week off, it's just too much, then it might be in your best interest to back off a touch. Maybe instead of sticking to 6 days a week max, or no, 6 days a week, like every week, maybe switch it up, try to get, like, start from 3, work your way up from there. But it's not it's like, you can't take it that easy on yourself. There is an objective way to look at it. There is, like, a legit, like, okay, I should probably take a rest day today because I can tell that I'm overloading my central nervous system and I'm accumulating fatigue, and I can feel that a rest day is necessary, and that would be completely accurate. That could be legit, right? But that's a very different situation than the guy who says, I feel a little tired today, I'm going to take a rest day. They're both, two lifters could do the exact same thing, save their lift for tomorrow, but one of them has gone through the process of learning about working out and feeling their own body and everything else, where they know, okay, I'm making the objectively correct decision here a rest day is necessary. And the other guy's like, don't feel like it. All these dudes are taking rest days. I'll take one off too. Let's just do a week off, do a full reset, or something along those lines. So it's like, I don't know exactly who said it. It was it was like some kind of clip of like somebody kind of notable fitness wise. But, the guy was saying that it was really pissing him off how many comments when, guys were like, oh, well, you shouldn't squat. The stimulus to fatigue ratio of the squat, it's just not worth it. You should do leg press or hack squat or something like that. And he was like, if there was a power lifter who's been working out for 15 years and he's learned his body and he understands like, okay, maybe I'm transitioning to some more quad growth, like I want bigger legs. Maybe I've been overdoing it with my weight intensity for quads. I should kind of back off. Like the intensity overload from regular barbell back squats is too much. I'm going to start doing more isolated work. That is a very different, perspective than, the guy who's been working out for a year, watching a bunch of workout tutorial videos and tips, and he's just telling himself like, oh, well, I don't need to squat because the stimulus to fatigue ratio is, it's just not there. It's like, dude, you have to fucking give yourself some stimulus to even come up with that idea of saying like, okay, maybe I shouldn't try to squat right now. It's like, well, I don't want to make it like a has done versus, the have-nots kind of a situation here. But I think we all know, like, working out, it is supposed to be kind of guttural. It is supposed to be kind of crazy. I mean, it's, yeah. I might not portray it as well now, because it's like, I'm being a little earlier, lifting at regular times and everything. But, it's to the point where if it's 2 o'clock, or for whatever reason I was like, traveling, or back when I was in school, I was like just being an asshole and saving a whole 3 weeks of studying for like one night, and then I stayed up all night cramming or something. It's not even a question. Like, okay, we're still going to go work out. Like, this lift is going to happen no matter what. And there is a certain approach where, you are really running your head through a brick wall. You want to just be that basic and like fucking simple about it. Like, nothing's going to stop, kind of more bro science-y, where, it's like, oh, I'm going to lift if I'm sick. I'm going to lift if whatever. Nothing. Like, that's your thing. And it's, in a way, that's not necessarily the best approach, right? Like, obviously take rest days when necessary. If you can tell your system is kind of, compromised by some kind of sickness, you are asking for injury if you try to keep lifting the exact same way. So definitely worth backing off a touch, right? Depends on, just look at it on a case-by-case basis. But I think it sucks how much, like, training in the gym itself has kind of been, like, diluted down to just a written instruction. It's like if somebody is trying to watch a video on how to work out now, it's like, okay, what should I do for my, it's like the idea of just get yourself into a chest press and just go fucking crazy. Like, it's almost not even talked about. It's all just, okay, you want to do it exactly like this. Like, intensity, even the intensity of it is no longer like a romanticized thing. It's, well, you might want to leave 3 reps in reserve. Maybe do most of your working volume at RPE 6.5. Maybe RPE 6.6 if it's a refeed day. And it's just, it's like you're doing too much, man. Now it's it kind of sucks because obviously there is a value to a scientific approach to the training. Like, I'm not saying that I don't think that. I'm always, like, in terms of leverages and like stretch portions and everything else, and like fascial stretching, like FST7, like, this is all totally fucking valuable information. But it's not like, you're missing out on the basics, Like, what are you supposed to tell a kid? Or not a kid, but like, just imagine this kind of analogy. Like, who's going to do better? The dude who is, gets put behind an F1 racing team, and he's like, well, I think we should probably reduce the spoiler because it's like, there is a place for that kind of very kind of computized, like, just pure data-based analytical, like, adjustments of your training, right? Like, if you can tell, or like me, you've got a natural hunch, or maybe you just have an unnatural hunch from how you've been sitting and everything else, so you get a lot of front delt activation in your pressing. Like, yeah, I need to work on pulling my shoulders back and little things like that. Like, I'm not saying that that's not the case, but if that's all you focus on and all your energy is just being put into like, okay, well, how can I make sure that my training is perfect? What new movements should I do, and what kind of sets should? It's like, dude, you lost track of the fucking picture, man. You know, if you got like a die-hard oil painting legend, you think he's really freaking out about, okay, I want to take my art to the next level. I better start buying some more expensive paint. I bet that would make my art look so much better. It's like, you know, that's not the point. It's not purely about the canvas. It's about kind of the the instrumentation and the like passion behind it. You know, so that's where, as much as I like more people in the gym, more people learning about working out, just more people in the space in general, because that refeeds into everything. More people in the gym, more gyms, newer gym equipment, because they're like kind of a reinvesting type situation. More dudes posting hype workout videos, which gets you going. I mean, it's an upward spiral, all right? But I just hate to see the essence of it and like the intensity of it boiled down to just pure numbers. You know, like, it's more than that. And it's I might not be doing the best way to explain it, because I'm trying to put into words, or like it's like trying to put into words the feeling of watching like an Attack on Titan edit where Aaron's fighting Reiner and Bertolt on the wall, and you're about to do a set of squats and your heart rate just doubled because you're getting so like it's something that it's hard to convey, but that's kind of what I'm aiming for, you know. So with this back day, of course, I want to hit my whole back. I want to do some stretched full range of motion pull downs and get a hard contraction and everything else. But, you know, on par with that goal is, you know, I want to make sure I'm in the zone. I want to make sure I got a good mindset and I'm putting effort into every set, and then finish off with a fucking sick pump and come home, you know. So I guess what I'm trying to say there is try not to overcomplicate it, right? Because if you're focusing on the tree, you lose the forest. If you're focusing on the leaf, you lose the tree. You know, we get that sort of thing, right? But I think no more chatting. I'm putting myself in a pretty good headspace, so let's just make this back day freaking happen. Let's keep it classic. So the regular width pull down, and let's go from here. I was gonna do a neutral grip one, but I don't love that neutral grip handle. Might just be a little too narrow or something. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Oh. I think one or two more just like that, and switch to a row, and then go back and forth between the two. Okay. Let's make that a rest pause. Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay. I think one more just like that. I like that little rest pause too. And then find some kind of rope. Cable, dumbbell, or otherwise. Good start with this though. Okay. All right. So the logic of the rest pause, take 10, 15 seconds, get some breaths. So instead of doing a full set where I might fail at 11, now I can get a little bit more workload in. But this all just counts as one. Okay. All right. I think I should go right there, do some cable row. Today might be all cable. We'll see. This will be a bit more squeeze focused. So those sets of pull downs were the stack, which I mean, I probably could have gone a little heavier, but stack is probably fine. So now I kind of want to counter that. So with these sets of rows, a little bit lighter, only 100 out of the 130 available. And really, I think that's 200 because of the, this is one of the ones with the pulley system or whatever. But either way, this is going to be more so focused on really, I mean, I say pulling my elbows together because that's not a bad way to imagine it. But I think taking that even one step further and imagining pulling my shoulder blades together usually gets me going a little bit more. So with lats, or if I was trying to make this a little bit more of a lat focused row, I'd hold maybe yay wide and pull the bar down more in front of my belly, because that's almost like doing a pullover, except, you know, just this portion, right? But since I kind of want some more traps, mid-back, Terry's major, rhomboid kind of shit, then I'm gonna go a little wider, and instead of having my elbows down here, I'll flare them up a touch, right? So instead of pulling down, it's more like something like that. Which, I mean, if I only had access to a cable row, like if somehow there was a hotel gym that only had one heavy cable row, I wouldn't be tweaking, because I could just do lat focused rows, maybe even bend forward a touch, make it a little more pullover-ish. But all that's to say, a lot of different ways to do different movements. I mean, some guys will even, usually it's just because they're swinging the weight around. But even if you go into a pull down and like every rep you like lean your body all the way back, then it's almost like you're doing a row on a pull down. It might look a little silly though. But let's get amped up, make this one happen. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. One more. And I might make this a little bit of a two-tone set. I'll explain in a second. So this first portion will be heavy, a little brutish, like really kind of move the weight around, which that style of set, I totally think has a place. Like as much as, you know, there is benefit in like a really controlled, slow set, I do think there is something to overloading the amount of physical like workload and tension that you're moving around, which I'm sure some study will actually doing a quick set of reps might induce 15% more gains than you get what I'm saying. But this first one will be more of a pre-exhaust, a little nastier. Then I'll drop the weight by probably about half, and it'll be sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde set. Nasty in the front, or like a mullet. Right? Crazy in the back, but cleaner in the front. Something like that. But let's make this shit happen. Okay, that's good. Okay. Whew. Okay. Holy crap. I'm just about ready for the finisher, which I will explain in a moment when I finish today's back day. But I kind of felt like I wanted a little bit more lat pump. So before jumping right to the finisher, let's do 5 alternating reps of cable pullovers. And well, I don't know if it's just a me thing, but for me to grab like one of the ropes or a straight bar and do pullovers like this, I just don't like it. I mean, I can get a decent, well, not even decent, like I can get a good stretch, but squeezing, I can only get to here. Whereas when I do single arm, a little bit lighter, I don't have to just stop right here. I can try to pull as far back as possible. So it's almost like when you see guys sit on a chest press and instead of doing both arms at once, they turn and do one like this. They do get a bit of a further reach because now instead of simply pressing to here, where their forearm or like their elbow rotation is just, over with, they get some extra squeeze from pulling all the way across. And I know I'll see a couple of comments. It's not about the squeeze, man. It's all about the stretch. Look, obviously get a good stretch. I would never want to see a set that was just, well, let me not pre-exhaust myself for the sake of this reference, but I would not want to see someone do a set of pull downs or pullovers like this, just right in the squeeze portion. And same logic, you wouldn't see somebody just sit here like this, and at least I would probably bet against them getting an awesome pump. So we know the deal. Full reps, full squeeze, deep stretch, yin and yang. But let's do 30 pounds, 5 each, then jump on that contraption to my left. Okay, one more. Okay. That was good. Kind of a pre-exhausting set for the finisher movement, but I can already feel my lats are a few percentage points more pumped on the pump decks, or on the pump deck index fund. Let's move on. So my logic here is that I like this finisher, or I have 2 long D handles in front of me, usually connected to just one cable. And I kind of do this half row, half pull down sort of movement. Because like at the top when I lean forward, I got a full lat stretch like a pull down. But as I do the rep, I don't just stay right here and get lats. I lean back into it and try to feel my entire back squeeze together. So the reason I like this as a finisher and maybe not as like a starter, which it would still work fine as a starter, is because I'm getting my whole back worked, lats getting more pumped, mid traps, rhomboids, everything in between. So it might just be my, lifter personality talking, which is probably talking 90% of the time here. But I can just finish my back day fully pumped. And who doesn't want to finish their lift fully pumped? I mean, that's kind of that's not the whole point, but it is part of it. So lightish weight, at least that I can control, because I really want to be able to squeeze all the way to the bottom. If I go too heavy, I won't be able to pull all the way down, and I'm missing out on that contraction portion, the burn of it, as it would. No. Okay. One more. Then find some lighting, pose down, and get out of here. It's currently 8:45. It's about right. 45, 50-minute back workout. Shouldn't take too much longer, I say. Well, at least as long as your sets are pretty hard. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's pose down. There we go. All right. Gym is damn near closed, or at least it's about closing time. Little peculiar busting out the regular pose down in the Planet Fitness, but what are you gonna do? And it's like, what's worse, shirtless on the gym floor or recording in the locker room? Frankly, they're both bad, but this is the alternative, or at least the better alternative. So let me, there we go. Oh man, that's all right. Same thing from the back. Now let's get out of here. Oh, guys. All right. Let's roll before I get shut down. All right. There we go. In focus. Ready to go home. So, when it comes to the working out, I think there is no better way to look at it than a give and take right? It's always a balance. It's always a balanced equation. The things that come out, or the things that you get out of it, are going to be exactly representative of what you put in. You know, I mean, I hate all of the posts where it's like, and I'm not saying just purely in a negative way, but I don't love the posts where it's like, what percent, only 1% or only 0.01% of the population will ever bench 315 for one, or will ever blank. You know, will ever like get a six-pack abs, or if you're more of a CrossFit hybrid athlete kind of guy, will ever be able to squat 315 and run a 6-minute mile. You know, like random shit like that. But what are you doing? I mean, you're trying to explain it away as though it's some kind of like luck of the draw situation. Like, oh, are you the lucky 1%? No, man. If you took a poll of 1,000 or however many people to have an accurate data set, and then you dug deeper, right? You did some actual investigation, or magically you just knew everything about the dude's routine and how he worked out and everything else, then it would not be left up to chance. You know, the ones who make legit gains and the ones who have real progress and are in good shape and, you know, keeping up with it, making their gains, those are the ones who actually do these lifts on a regular basis. So kind of playing back to the drive or the talk I was getting into on the way to the gym, it's not the guys who do it the smartest, right? That helps. That definitely helps. But it's the guys who can go the hardest for the longest, the most consistently, you know? Like there's crazy ass fucking stories of dudes where like one guy's, and this might, I don't know if this is even real. I just remember seeing it on a picture, but it kind of translates well. You know, the guy had a village. This is some kind of Middle Eastern country somewhere in Europe. But the basic gist of the picture, if it was legit, was he had a long way around this kind of mountain range to as a trail. So for 25 fucking years, he would consistently dig up chunks of it to cut through it, right? As a not a tunnel, but kind of just a like flattening of the terrain. And you know, you might look and think, holy crap, how could one person even do all that? It's small incremental changes over time, which add up, usually in not exponentially, but they play into each other well, right? So you know, it's not the guy who does the perfect set of curls, and it's the guy who can do good sets of curls every arm day on repeat for years on end and keep up with his routine and stay sleeping, you know. So that's where I'm getting into the give and take part of things, because you know, a lot of guys, let's say you started off as a skinny-ish, like not skinny, but just like a regular looking dude, like 160, 170 pound guy, like, you know, just regular looking guy, right? Not extra beefy, but not like overweight or anything. For that guy to just implement weight training alone, he's going to make gains for like a year and a half straight without even adding anything else, right? So in the beginning, that's a pretty good deal. Just add weight training, just add like near daily pumps, and guess what? You're growing, right? You're in the green, you know? So that's the equation, right? You got to give some new weight training, some new stimulus, and then you're going to get some gains, right? But once you reach a point of plateauedness, then that equation no longer functions, right? You've stepped up an echelon, so now you have to add some extra variables, right? Make sure your sleep is on point. Make sure that your diet is on point. You're actually eating enough food to fuel your not only baseline recovery from these workouts, but over recovery into actually growing new muscle tissue, you know? And that's a pretty big step up from just maintaining the tissue that you've already built up. And then, you know, that all just plays into each other, making sure you actually hit your meals, and you have a day schedule that is going to align with being able to do, it's like it all just kind of fucking adds up, man. So what I'm trying to get at is like, you know, the dudes who are really making gains and are actually getting like legit progress, they aren't necessarily the dudes where you see the craziest clip of them doing a set and it's like the most nose bleedingest squatted. They're just doing everything right on the back end. You know, they're actually getting a reasonable amount of sleep. They're drinking enough fluids. They're making sure they're not doing anything to hinder their recovery, right? AKA nightlife style activities, you know, and they're just making sure everything's on point. And beyond that, you know, making sure they've got a reasonably solid, you know, psyche, right? If you're constantly stressing out or getting anxious about all sorts of whatever Like, I'm not trying to undermine anxiety or anything if you've got some serious shit going on, but if you're off kilter, how are you going to expect to always remember, like, okay, I got to make sure I get my water in the morning and go do this and hit this meal and whatever. Like, it's imagine you're riding a fucking boat, right? You making gains, or you on your path to making gains, is you cruising on a fucking jet ski, right? If the water is too choppy, you're not gonna have any fucking fun. If you're on a smooth ass, basically glass style water, you can fly at friggin' 40. That's reminded me of when my family went to Florida to visit my grandparents, and we thought it'd be a good idea to take some jet skis out. The actually going out into the bay, not so fun, but the the inlet where the water is nice and smooth and calm, right? Smooth sailing, literally, or I guess smooth skiing, right? But that's kind of what I'm talking about. You can put as much effort as you want into the training itself, which you should, right? I'm not trying to say don't do that, but if the back end isn't there to support everything that you're trying to get out of your training, then you're kind of, you're just treading water, right? You're not actually moving forward. So that's where I can't stress enough all this macro tracking and making sure you get enough sleep and stay hydrated, because at the end of the day, what are you working out for, right? Apart from the fact that I think we just like it. Like, that's non-negligible. That's definitely a part of it. But, in the long-term scope of things, right, you're working out to make gains. So over the course of the next few months, I mean, you can get into as long as years, but let's even just say months. If you look back and you have to say, like, okay, I'm pretty much exactly where I was a year ago right now. Like, you haven't made any tangible gains weight-wise or size-wise or strength-wise or anything else. You've just been staying the same dude. Then, it's like you just fucking, it's like you got frozen in time in a damn cryo sleep tube. You're the exact same dude you were a year ago, right? So all those lifts, even though you were, like, let's say you need this much intensity to maintain your build, you basically met that level of intensity, right? You're just staying the same level of lifter. But if you just add those extra bits, right? Staying completely hydrated, getting all your food in, actually like tracking your protein, and getting a reasonable amount of carbs pre-workout. And I don't mean instantly like grabbing a bag of Skittles. I'm talking like, an oatmeal, rice, whatever kind of potato-based meal, like 2 hours before, where you're actually like really well fed. You've actually, you've really absorbed the food. You didn't just spike your blood sugar 20 minutes before the workout. That adds up. And it's not something which you can see immediately, because feeling good, like feeling well rested, feeling well hydrated, and like, energized, in the gym, of course, you might notice, but on a day-to-day basis, I mean, it's like taking your vitamins. You don't take your Flintstones gummy and think, holy crap, I feel so good right now, oh my god. It's just not the case, right? But all those small incremental changes, which you might not notice, they just add in. Might even feel like a chore, depending on how much you value those. Making sure you get your 5 or 6 grams of creatine in per day. They add up, and it shows. But it only shows in the long run, So it's like you kind of have to have a bit of a delayed gratification-based mindset. Because if I go to the plant store and I buy a, like some kind of succulent or something for my desk, water it one day, add some kind of, make sure it's got enough light or whatever, and then the next day it's the exact same size. If I get upset and think, why isn't this thing fucking growing? That's just not the nature of it, It takes a little while. So that's half of the great filter of lifters versus non-lifters, I feel, is the fact that, it takes more than a day. It takes more than a few days. It takes more than a week. It takes months. But once you've broken past that, few weeks, month mark, and depending on what your starting position is, that could actually be a long time, right? Especially if you've got like a serious fat loss journey to embark on first. But once you've reached a point, and it could, if you're actually sticking to a legit calorie deficit, you can see noticeable changes in a month. I mean, depending on what your state is, you could drop 5-6 pounds in a month. That's not that is noticeable. That's not negligible. And once you see that, usually your brain will click. Right? The first time you get a real chest bump, the first time you see your first bicep brachial vein, the first time you get some chest striations, it's always just more, essentially validation that what you've been doing is working. And then it just makes you go even harder, right? So that's where I do understand the challenge of getting into the gym and getting into a hardcore workout routine for the beginner, because I've said this a couple times before. I really like it's a good way to put it, but you don't have those results to motivate you yet. If I get to come into the gym at this point and see a crazy ass lat pump, traps, fucking not barn door wide, but maybe getting close to single door width at least, that's pretty motivating. The likelihood that I'm gonna say, okay, I want to do that again tomorrow, it's 100%. It's not even a question of probability. That is going to happen, because I know what I like about it. So that's where try to be a little bit patient and don't get too overwhelmed in the beginning, because the benefits will begin to show. But you got to kind of put in consistent work for a reasonable chunk of time before you see those benefits, right? And once you do, let's just say your eyes will have been opened, and you'll never look at a McDonald's single cheeseburger again, at least not the same way. Right now, you're going to be looking at it as a 300-calorie snack of about 13 or 14 grams of fat, 30 grams or 33 grams of carbs, and about 15 of protein. Which I do not mind. I think it's maybe I just don't get it, but it's always that's always such a classic argument against counting your calories and counting your macros and everything else. You're gonna look at your food like numbers. It's like, maybe for the average dude you might not care, but if I'm working out, there's no way I'm gonna lose any body fat if I wasn't tracking all those data points. So I know it might feel a little OCD, but make sure, just try not to forget that it's for the greater good of gains for you in the future, right? It's not unlike this situation here, like I'm about to describe, right? Let's say I had a time machine and I could fast forward 6 months and see myself in the future. You're basically in that same position right now. If you don't lock in, if you don't actually start making the gains you want to make and putting in the work, then you may as well time travel 6 months in the future, smack yourself in the face, and then come back. Because this year's over. Or there's one more month. So I think anybody who said they were going to lock in for 2024, the time has passed. But there is still more time. Right? I'm talking 2025, 26, 27, as many years as there are. Basically, to infinity, right? But eventually, you got to start. So, if you're watching this, you should already be into it pretty deep. I'm sure you're rocking at least a couple of veins somewhere along the line. But plan for tomorrow with arms. Go nuts like normal. Crazy ass arm pump. Try not to get discouraged by feeling a little bit lighter and flatter, which honestly I haven't really been feeling much of. Especially in the gyms, fully hydrated, pre-workout, vasodilation. I don't feel like I'm carb depleted, which is probably a really good sign, because later on down the line, once I actually am leaner than I am right now and carbed up, it's basically going to be like a fucking metamorphosis of, it won't be actually gaining 5 pounds of muscle or 6 pounds of muscle or however many pounds that I carb up with, but it'll basically look like it. Because across my fucking build, all of my little glycogen stores are basically going to go from empty to full. But that's a few months away, so let's try not to get too excited about that part. So until then, I'll see you tomorrow for arms.